Most people think learning Jiu-Jitsu is about stacking more moves inside your head until the pile is high enough to feel like mastery. But the truth is quieter and more patient than that. Because real progress in BJJ is not a mountain of techniques. It is a change in how you perceive what is right in front of you. A shift from counting parts to understanding the whole. And once you see it this way, the anxiety of what to learn next turns into the calm work of letting your perception mature round after round. At the beginning, you hear people say that Jiu-Jitsu is a game of frames and levers and angles, and you nod because the words sound correct. But early on, those words are just signs taped to the wall. They point at something you cannot yet feel, so you rely on simple rules and definitions. You notice what is easy to measure, like which hand goes where and which hip should turn, and it helps a little because rules give you something to hold while the chaos swirls. Yet every rule feels heavy on the mat, and you move like a person trying to read a sentence. By sounding out each letter, you can get through it, but it is slow and it breaks when pressure arrives. Then time passes and the room teaches you more than the words ever could. You start to recognize patterns that do not come from a list. You feel that some grips are not just grips, but situations that carry a mood. You notice the difference between an opponent who is balanced and one who is stretched thin, even if the external shape looks similar. And this is the first big turn in your learning, because you are no longer living only in the land of abstract rules. You are beginning to recognize situations, meaningful little constellations that tell you something about what is likely to happen next. And this recognition removes a surprising amount of panic, since now the role is not a blur. It is a set of familiar scenes, arriving one after another, and you understand the scene even when you do not yet know the perfect line to take. As those scenes become familiar, you start to feel priority. You realize that not every detail deserves your full attention at the same time. You cannot chase 5 things with one grip, so your perception begins to rank what matters right now. You sense which element is loudest in the position and which elements can wait. And this sense of salience is the second big turn, because learning stops being about collecting everything and starts being about seeing the right thing in the right moment. Your mind becomes less crowded, your decisions come faster, and even when you get stuck, you are stuck for a reason you can name rather than for a reason that feels like bad luck. Eventually, something steady happens. You stop doing Jiu-Jitsu through slow analysis and you start doing it through recognition, the way a musician hears a chord and the hands already know where to go. The way a native speaker finishes your sentence before you do. You see a hole, and the response rises without you checking it against a whiteboard in your head. And this is not magic. It is the nervous system becoming honest with experience. It is the brain letting go of supervision because it trusts the patterns you have stored. And once this trust forms, you can finally roll without narrating to yourself. You can be present without being noisy inside. And good choices feel simple again. There are rare nights when it goes even further and the rounds feel effortless. You lose the sensation of piloting a machine and feel like you are just moving. Your attention is not bouncing between indicators and controls. It is absorbed in the moment. Not urgent, not lazy, just fully there. And this state is the opposite of trying to perform. It is what shows up when you stop reaching for it. But to reach that ease, you do not chase the state, you build the perception that makes it possible. And you let the state visit when it wants. If you listen closely, you can hear the stages inside that story. You can hear the journey from rules to recognition to intuition. And understanding those stages changes how you practice without forcing you to add a single new technique. Because at the start, rules are necessary. Scaffolding, names, and simple instructions are the training wheels that keep you from crashing every minute. They are not wrong, they are temporary. And your goal is not to worship them, but to absorb enough experience that the scaffolding can come down. So when you catch yourself needing to slowly talk through every step, do not judge it. Just know what phase you are in and keep collecting clean experiences until your eyes start to do the talking for you. Now think about how you spend your learning time, because there is the learning that happens live and the learning that happens away from the mat, and they are not rivals, they are different instruments in the same band. Live training gives you immediate feedback and a sense of presence that keeps you honest. It forces your attention to stay awake. It makes you part of something, and that social pull raises your energy and sharpens your focus in a way that lonely study cannot. While study away from the mat gives you room to replay, to slow time down, to watch your own habits without pressure, to hear explanations that would drown in the noise of sparring. And the point is not to choose one over the other, but to see how they support each other. Because when you go back and forth between live interaction and thoughtful review, you get the best of both. You keep your motivation high and your understanding deep. You carry clarity from the quiet room into the storm of rounds and bring questions from the storm back into the quiet room where they can be understood. If this kind of insight is helping your jiu-jitsu, I share free match breakdowns and studies on my Patreon. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. And if you're new here, you can subscribe so you don't miss the next study. The more you appreciate these two modes, the less you argue about them, because lifetime on the mat is where your intuition is forged, not through heroics, but through countless encounters with similar situations until your body stops asking your head for permission. And review time is where you organize what you felt into something the mind can hold without squeezing it too hard. You replay transitions to recognize the scene. Instead of the step, you listen for the principle behind the move, without turning the principle into a rigid spell. And together, those modes shape a learner who is motivated, present, and gradually free of excess internal narration. This is why some people seem to accelerate without changing their personality or switching to a brand new system. They are aligning their learning with the way humans acquire skill. They are letting experience lead while keeping just enough structure to avoid getting lost. They are letting their attention narrow to the most relevant part of the moment instead of spraying it across everything. And because of that, their rounds look calm even when the pace is high. They do less, but accomplish more, and they make fewer decisions because the right one keeps presenting itself. If you are in your first months and you feel clumsy, that is not failure, that is exactly what it feels like to read letter by letter. And your job is not to impress anyone, but to stay with the process long enough for words to become sentences, and sentences to become stories. You do not need to copy someone else's style. You need to collect enough honest rounds that your nervous system can stop pretending and start recognizing. Because once it recognizes, the style that fits your body will begin to announce itself without you forcing it. And the confidence you are chasing will stop being a mood and start being proof built from repetition. If you are in the middle phase and you feel torn between a dozen details, remember that not every detail matters equally. This is the time to let your perception choose a few loud signals and follow them. To accept that priority is not an insult to the things you ignore for a moment. It is how you keep your mind clear enough to act. And the lesson is that clarity makes you safer than caution does, because cautious minds freeze while clear minds move. If you have been training long enough to feel intuition appear and disappear, do not panic when it leaves. Intuition is not a pet. It is a weather pattern. It comes more often to people who keep showing up and who do not flood their mind with commentary. So the work is almost boring. It is to keep your inputs clean, to keep your attention honest, to let your body remember without you interrupting it every few seconds, and to respect recovery, because tired systems shout while present systems listen. Notice how none of this requires you to memorize a specific attack or to force a new guard into your identity. It only asks you to understand how learning actually unfolds, to stop fighting the phase you are in, to use live presence to sharpen your attention, and to use quiet review to deepen your understanding, and to trust that intuition is the flowering of recognition rather than the reward for collecting rare moves. In the end, Jiu-Jitsu becomes simple without ever becoming easy. Simple because you know what to look at first. Simple because your responses fit the picture you are seeing. Simple because you do not argue with the moment. And not easy because the work never stops, but that is what makes it beautiful. Every round is a chance to refine perception, to move one step further from rules you have to carry and one step closer to understanding that carries you. So if you feel behind, you are not behind, you are in transit. If you feel overwhelmed, you are probably paying attention to too much at once, which means you are right on schedule. If you feel like your best rounds happen when you stop thinking so hard, it is not an accident, it is a sign that your learning is doing what it is supposed to do. And all you need to do is keep collecting the kind of experiences that let your perception grow. Keep reviewing calmly so the story makes sense, and let time do the honest work that shortcuts never can. Hey guys, most people study Jiu-Jitsu through instructionals that look clean, but they don't show what actually works under pressure. Here we learn from matches, where technique is proven when everything's on the line. That's how you cut through the noise and see what truly works when it matters. On my Patreon, you'll find free breakdowns from the newest matches I can't post on YouTube, full studies, and complete guides, all built to help you improve faster and train smarter. You can start free right now. The link's in the description and pinned comment. And if you're new, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next study.